Hey guys. Hey, good people. Good afternoon, good evening. I know I haven't been on because I have been I had to digress a little bit because today's testimonies is like crazy. Crazy. I got the transcript. What I'm going to do is skim through it and tell you guys some of the stuff that happened today because we got to do our transcript reading for today. And I got my group of people in here that hey everybody, hello, guys. I am oh, okay, we're gonna start off first of all, guys. I know y'all want to know what Mr. Kelly had on. He had on a blue suit, and it was like a plaid type of what you call it? Plaid type of it was like a plaid tie. The tie had red in it, it had blue in it, it had gray, and it had white. JT, you emailed me? Oh, okay. I'll look at my email. So it had those colors in it, y'all, and it really looked nice. He looked nice, really nice. All right. And then he had a different pair of glasses on. But here's why I'm like, hey, partners in crime. Do you guys want to talk about what's? I'm gonna send it to y'all in a perspective and my other comrade. I'm gonna send y'all something and y'all tell me if y'all want to do this right now because I thought it was juicy. I thought it was really juicy that. And you guys, y'all tell me if y'all want to do it too. Hold on, perspective. Check your email. Hold on. Perspective, check your email. Tamiria, check your email. Powerful, check your email. Rhoda, check your email. Purple Couch, check your email. Check your email. Check your email. Let me know if you guys want to do this a little bit. You say it wasn't a good look for the defense team? Let me tell you, Ruby. When I check your email. What wasn't a good look for the what's the name? What wasn't a good look? But let me Tracy's part. Tracy's part. Here's the problem with Tracy's part. How with that 2000 the date that part, it was kind of weird because it wasn't fitting right because she said they met at the Black Women Expo. That wasn't until 2000. So everything that she was saying lined up with 2000. So it was kind of weird. It was lined up with 2000, even in her disposition. I mean, deposis, whatever thing called. Today, but hey, okay. Guys, come on in. Perspective. I like to read Pauline. Seem like a real. Yeah, let's do that one. Thank you. Okay, I just sent it to you. Perspective. Come on, y'all. Come on in. Because I wanted to read that one. I really wanted to read it because I wanted to get the feel of it. I want you guys to have a feel of it. Since I got the transcript. So we can read what happened today. Rhoda, check your email. So you guys can see exactly what happened today. Thank you. Rhoda, check your email, honey. All right, everybody's coming in. Yay! Everybody's coming in. Everybody's coming in. Everybody. You watching me on Facebook? Okay, come on in, Rhoda. Rhoda, come on in, because we're gonna read the transcript for today. Okay? Yay! There she is, y'all. We got everybody here. Where's my other people? Where's Tamiria and Perspective? Can you play that girl? Pauline, you got to come in with an attitude, Perspective. You got to come in with an attitude. I changed the name to Pauline. All right, we got the attorney. Hey, we got Pauline. Hey, and then we got the judge. Hold on, we're gonna make you the judge. Did you check your email, Purple Couch?
Yeah, I pulled it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I need my other people in.
Oh, so I need to. Oh, you changed my name already. Okay.
So I want you to play Pauline.
When they turn off the fan and turn on the AC, kill the noise.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell you in now I'm gonna let you listen to these testimony and you tell me, because we're gonna read Tracy's testimony and we're gonna read Pauline. We're gonna jump and we're gonna do Pauline first and then we're gonna do Tracy's. Okay, guys. Because since we got
before we read, can I get a general? What was your feeling you left with today from court?
Let me tell you my whole Pauline. When I first heard her, it felt like, damn, oh my God, you know that type of feeling, right? I had that feeling. I was like, oh Lord, no, right? And then when Jennifer came up, she discredited her. She poked holes in the story.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was really like, oh my God, really? Oh, seriously, you know me, I'm going to tell y'all the truth about it, right? I'm going to give y'all the raw and cut truth. And it felt like, damn, wow. But you know, you could tell she's very well versed with the government. And now let me tell you something. I watched the government give the cue to Tracy when to start crying. I was like, oh my God, what the heck? She gave her the cue.
Wow.
Just when to start crying. I was like, this is crazy. And they all start crying around the same time. The threesome with Jane. All of them cry around that time.
Wow.
I watched them. I watched the government give her the cue, and she went like this. I was like, oh my! And they're not watching this.
You were inside the court or inside the overflow? Because I'm just curious if anybody else did.
You know I'm in the court.
I just want to know. I'm like hoping somebody else seen the same thing.
Daddy Lolo, come on in, Daddy Lolo. Him and I both like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is about R. Kelly's trial, Lolo Mama. Is this Daddy Lolo Mama? Daddy Lolo come in here and give her his view on it. Oh y'all, I got this bug flying around here. Where's Tamiria, y'all? Let me see where she at. Hold on, y'all. Hold on a second. We're ready to start. I need my peeps. They're not coming in yet. Where are they at? We ready to start. Okay, hold on. Oh my God. A fly came in this house. I don't like flies because they start buzzing by your ears. Y'all make me. Tabira, come on. She said, y'all go ahead and start. Okay. Let me get my other person.
Kimberly, I see you.
Are you coming? Are you coming? I just sent you the new transcript. Come on in. Come on. Come on. I need you to play the government. Okay, but come on. We'll cover you in between. All right. Bye. All right, guys. We got our folks coming in right now. Pretty brown eyes. Can you come in? Where's she at? Pretty brown eyes. Check your email. Oh, they're gonna fly. Sorry, guys. It's just they're gonna fly getting on my nerve. Oh. The government said they're going to rest after tomorrow. So it's nothing. I don't think I have. When you whispered, you sound like a little. I sound like a poltergeist. I sound like a poltergeist. Check your email. The only thing I hope the jury is seeing these things. That's important to see these things happening. Y'all, I'm telling you, the jurors, y'all, there's a fly in here. And I'm trying to get a pillow to get it. Sorry.
I pray that defense puts on a good rest of the, case, because, the last defense felt like they could rest and not put on one.
No, I'm telling you, what's the name is not playing. Bo, they're not playing.
Good.
They're
Give
not
it
playing.
to them.
No, they calling witnesses like Deragagas and people like that. They ain't not playing. They got some folks coming in, y'all.
Good.
They got some folks coming in.
I hope they hand it to them. I hope they give it to
folks
them.
coming in.
I know today I heard.
She was doing a great job.
I heard that prosecution is coming in today, or not today, but they're gonna call some of the old prosecution attorneys.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I know everybody's saying that. I don't know about that. She just made a comment about it, but I don't know if that's a fact.
I was like, she gonna call them?
I don't know about that. Just tell the truth. Exactly, Nikki. All right. I'm waiting for one more person and then we'll get started. All right, y'all got it, right?
I got it.
All right. Rob is doing well, guys. He's doing very well. In fact, y'all, at one of the right at the end, before Pauline got off, he whispered something in Jennifer's ear for her to say, and then she went back on the thing and said what Robert said. So I was like, whoa, it's gonna be on the end. You'll hear it. And the whole jury people started laughing. They were like, and you'll hear it.
That's a good sign. A happy jury, not a very mean and angry one.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you. I would share some things, my observation of the jury. I'll tell y'all that afterwards. Not right now. Not until all of this is over. But I really believe this is a great jury selection this time. That's what I believe. I
One of
believe
those
it's great.
one of those reporters said she clenched her pearls. She grabbed at her chest like, oh my goodness.
Let me tell you, that girl was acting ghetto, and the jurors did not like that ghetto acting stuff.
Mm.
I'm telling you, y'all, we're gonna read what she said, how she said it. And she said, "You got the right one today." That's what she told Jennifer. "You got the right one." I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." She said, "You got the right one." I'm like, "Girl, go sit down somewhere. This is not the ghetto."
Mm.
She told Jennifer that you got the right one today. I was like, "Oh, what is this?" Very
Ghetto
disrespectful.
bird, are we fighting?
Oh,
Ooh.
child, y'all. She said, "Ah, you got the right one today."
Mm.
You're right. Okay. Exactly, Mimi. The attitude never, especially when you're acting like that. Oh my gosh, she was like on the attack. Ah. Send you the link. Okay, the link is right here. Hold on. Sorry, I forgot. I forgot y'all needed the link. Sorry, my bad. My bad. Okay, my bad. Here's the link. The other person probably waiting for the link too. Hold on, hold on. My bad.
Was he asleep today? Today
No,
seems
he's
like
yawning real loud. He went, oh. I love,
oh, okay.
man, I love that judge, Lord, y'all.
It seemed like it was a very exciting day and he was still over it.
It was boring to him, after a while, because the girl was very combative. After a while, that really gets on your nerve. She was very combative. She was like really like kind of
And
nasty.
why, right? Because she's the liar.
She was nasty, y'all. She was very, very nasty. She was like, but we're reading the transcript. We're reading directly from the transcript. So we're gonna read Pauline's testimony as well as Tracy's testimony. You guys be the judge of what happened. You tell me what you think when we read it to you guys, okay? You guys. Oh, here we go. Here we go. There go my reader. Here they come, y'all. They coming in. They coming in. They coming in left and right. Okay. Um, Pauline Court. You're Rita, you're gonna be Bo. Because he asked a couple of questions too. All right, let's go. All right. Where's she at? She didn't come in yet to call it. She didn't come in. Yeah, she's definitely not. Let me tell y'all something. Ooh, child. That little woman, don't come at her because she'll come right back at you. Poe, I mean, somebody needs to pay Diane. So cover Diane, y'all, when y'all need Diane. Did some cross examination today. Who is this? I'll finish it later on, but we're gonna do this today. We're gonna do this one, the one we just got today. You haven't missed anything, Melissa. We just starting. We just starting. I'm trying to wait for everybody's devices to work and stuff like that. Okay, there we go. Is everybody okay? Powerful, are you coming in? All right, well, let's get started, y'all. Was Dottie there today? No, she was not, y'all. I told y'all, but tomorrow she'll be there. Thank you for everybody who helped her out today. She will be there tomorrow. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Can I change my avatar to her? Or do I? I said, is that against the rule to change my avatar to a picture of her?
No, it's not against the rule.
Okay. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Mm-mm. You're not going to get me in trouble. Put her picture up. These flies are just bothering. Just one fly is in here. There's one freaking fly. Powerful. I just sent a link. It's in here. It's in the chat right here. I emailed it to you too. But which one you want me to do? There's got a link right here. Where's Daddy's Cash App again, y'all? Put Daddy's Cash App in there, please. And thank you guys for your blessings for helping her out today. I appreciate y'all. That's what it's all about. The fly knows I don't like them. See, what happened is I opened up the door today and that one came in with me. Because I was like having a hard time getting the door open, and then they decided to come in. There ain't no food in here. So you're going to be mad. You're going to be mad at me.
Oh my goodness. How long was my mute going? Because I just noticed that I was on mute. Jennifer.
What the heck? What happened there? Yeah, you guys ready? Let's get it. Let's get going. Hey, Lily. Don't please what? Don't what? Extremely ratchet. Huh? What are you talking about? Lily, what are you talking about? Come on, y'all. Let's do this. Let's get started, y'all. Extremely ratchet. You just coming in talking crap. Are y'all ready?
Yep.
Where is Powerful? Powerful, come on now. What is going on with Powerful? All right, let's get started. I'm fly food. I already sent it to your email. What is going on? All right, can we get started, guys? Let's do this. All right. Let's roll it.
Rhoda. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Y'all gonna do the introduction or just start at line 2?
Okay, we're gonna start. United States versus Robert Sylvester Kelly, Daryl McDavid, and June Brown. Case number 19 CR 567. Roll 'em.
Good morning, everybody.
Brentley.
Good morning, Judge.
One of the jurors is, I guess, close, but it would be a couple of minutes before we get the jury up here. One matter. I've been advised by the marshals that the jurors would love to have Friday off, and I haven't promised them anything. I haven't considered that. I'm hoping to have a clearer view of when the government will rest. Does the government have a view? If the government rests on Thursday, it would seem to me that it would probably be okay to give them off Friday, to give them Friday off.
Your Honor, I think there is a chance we could rest tomorrow or Wednesday morning.
So you are moving quicker than, well, we'll see how it goes together. And if everybody would like a day off, if they would make a 10% reduction of questions.
Yes.
We'd like to have the. Oh, I'm sorry, that ain't me.
This internet where I am is horrible.
We'd like to have the jurors for sure.
We might be able to do it.
Yes, my chair has disappeared.
I
My chair's
got
been
it.
taken, Judge. The government is trying to get rid of me by way of chairs.
Okay. Can we put one other thing on record before we start, Your Honor? And that is just to admonish the sketch artist again that the first witness this morning, Pauline, is not to have her face sketched. I believe there is a new artist in here in the courtroom that may not have heard your prior ruling. So we are asking that Pauline and Tracy, who are both scheduled to testify today, not be sketched.
Okay. Consider yourselves admonished not to clearly sketch the face of the witnesses.
Your Honor, there is one more thing as well. Counsel for Mr. Brown was hoping the court could rule on Brown's second consolidation motion in limine. I believe the court said that it was prepared to rule Thursday morning, and the government asked for some more time to file a written response, and it's been a few days.
Judge?
The minor that are relevant to are going to be testifying as we kind of need to know.
Well, it's my understanding that the consistent ruling would be that they refer to the person who pays their bills as an employee rather than either Mr. Brown or, I guess, Mr. Brown. And is the government willing to live with that? They're nodding yes. So I guess the motion in limine is granted.
Yes, Your Honor. We have instructed the witness about that ruling.
Yes, very good. Anybody else have any complaints or praise or anything?
Your Honor, yes, please. We have asked the government. They have a number of people on their will call list that I don't know. We've continually asked them to update that if they do not intend to call people on their will call list, because there's a couple of people
That would be very nice if they would do that.
they have done that. I just want to see if it's changed, because if they're resting potentially tomorrow, I'm a little confused. So I just want to make sure that we can get a full list of everyone who they intend to call, because that will be helpful in terms of getting somebody else in. Particularly, there is one witness in particular that we would like to make sure that is available that they had on their will call list, but I haven't seen her mentioned recently.
Yes, Your Honor. We sent that last night. That is the remaining proposed witnesses.
So they're not calling Kathy Carroll now?
That's correct.
Okay. So that's just information I got yesterday. So I'd ask for the government to please provide us with information so we can get her in ourselves, because until yesterday, she was on the will call list, and we were not informed until yesterday that they did not intend to call her.
All right. The government would do that. Is that correct?
Yes, she has an attorney, so we will direct counsel to her counsel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nothing from the government, Your Honor.
Rahul, can you check to see if
they're here, Judge? I'll have them sent.
Please be seated. Good morning, members of the jury. We're ready for the next witness. Miss, would you please stand and raise your right hand?
Yes.
Please be seated.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm both. Okay. Your Honor, prior to beginning questioning, there is a document just being passed around the jury. I just want to make sure everyone has a chance to look at that before I begin.
All right.
It will just take a minute.
Has that been done?
It's happening right now.
Oh,
You may question the witness.
I can't be both, y'all.
Good morning.
I'm being her. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, are you testifying under pseudonym Pauline today, correct?
Yes.
And Pauline is not your real name, correct?
No.
How old are you?
37.
And in what month and year were you born?
October in 1984.
Where did you grow up?
Oak Park, Illinois.
Did you go to middle school in that area?
Yes.
Did you also go to high school in that area?
Yes.
After high school, did you go to college?
Yes.
And did you graduate from college?
Yes.
And did you go to post-college education as well?
Yes, I do.
After graduating, what kind of work did you do?
I've worked in a couple of fields, but I'm an education teacher.
Now, I would like to show you, I like to start by showing you what's been admitted in evidence as Government Exhibit 118. Do you recognize the person in this photograph?
Yes.
Who is it?
Jane.
When did you first meet Jane?
I was 13, 14 years old
And how did you meet Jane?
at school.
And what was your relationship to Jane?
We were like sisters, like best friends.
Were you and Jane in the same grade at school?
Yes.
And were you and Jane the same age?
Yes.
When you and Jane first became friends in middle school, what were some of the things you and Jane liked to do together?
Like go shopping, listen to music, and hang out.
After you started hanging out with Jane in middle school, did you meet an individual named Robert Kelly?
Yes.
Robert Kelly.
Yes.
Who introduced you to Robert Kelly?
Jane.
Approximately how old were you when you first met Mr. Kelly?
14.
And during your time knowing him, what name did you use to refer Robert Kelly? What did you call him?
Daddy.
And so, just for the record, it's clear during your testimony today, you will be using the name Robert or Rob to refer to Robert Kelly.
Yes.
You stated that Jane was the person who introduced you to Robert, correct?
Correct.
Where were you when you first met Robert?
At the studio at the school.
If you saw Robert Kelly today, would you recognize him?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask everyone in the courtroom to remove their mask.
We'll stipulate she can identify him.
all right. It's stipulated. She can identify the defendant, R. Kelly.
Now, you stated that you were 14 years old when Jane introduced you to Robert Kelly. Do you know how old Jane was at the time when she introduced you to Robert Kelly?
14.
And after meeting Mr. Kelly, did you begin spending time with him?
Yes.
When you first started spending time with Mr. Kelly, was Jane usually there with you as well?
Yes.
Judge, I would like to get some foundation. After is a long period of time.
All right.
So if I could get additional foundation about when.
Can you fill in that blank?
When you were 14 years old, after you met Mr. Kelly, was Jane usually there with you as well?
Yes.
Now, focusing on the time after you met Mr. Kelly and you were 14 years old, where would you and Jane spend time with Mr. Kelly?
At Track Studio, at his house on 1010 West George, at Hoops, on a tour bus, and at restaurants.
You mentioned 1010 West George. Over time, did you become familiar with the different rooms at Mr. Kelly's house on George Street?
Yes.
I like to direct your attention to when you were 14 or 15 years old. Do you recall a time when you and Jane were at the house at 1010 West George and you could not locate Jane?
Yes.
Did you eventually find Jane in the house?
Yes.
Where did you find her?
In the cabin room.
I like to direct your attention to what has been admitted into evidence as Government Exhibit 112D. Do you recognize Government Exhibit 112D?
Yes.
And what is it?
The cabin room.
You stated that you found Jane in the cabin room. Was she there alone?
No.
Who was there with Jane?
Rob.
And what were Jane and Robert Kelly doing in the log cabin room?
She was sitting like kneeling, but she was naked when I came in the room.
And what was Mr. Kelly doing when you entered the room?
Sitting down in front of her.
After you saw Jane naked in the cabin room with Mr. Kelly, what did you do?
I ran out.
After you ran out the room, did Jane come find you?
Yeah.
And what happened when Jane came and found you?
She talked to me and told me it was okay, that I could come back in. And so I did. And we all were talking.
And when you returned to the log cabin room with Jane, was Robert Kelly in that room?
Yes, he told me that. I'm sorry. Yes. He told me that that's how. Oh.
Did he say anything to you when you returned in the room with Jane?
He told me that he was just looking for bruises on her because she hurt herself. And I was like, oh, okay.
Did Mr. Kelly say anything else to you once you returned into the cabin room?
Yes. He told me that that's how. I told him that's not how you look for bruises. And he said that's how he looks for bruises. And so I said, oh, okay. And then he stated that we all have secrets. And he was like the little boy you've been kissing on. I was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, your mama don't know about that, do she? I was like, no. And he said, okay, she don't have to know about this. We all cool? I said, yeah, I'm cool. And we was cool.
Okay. And so, what did you understand Robert Kelly to be communicating to you about what you saw in the log cabin room when Jane was naked?
That what he was doing was fine and it was our secret.
And after you had conversation, that conversation, did you hear me? Hello?
You're blanking out, but he told Jane to kiss his sister. He told her to kiss her sister, and she kissed me, and I kissed her.
Was that the first time you kissed Jane before?
Like that? Yes.
Okay. Did Mr. Kelly tell you to do anything else with Jane in the log cabin that day?
To touch each other's breast.
And did you do that?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because he told me to.
Okay. Where did he touch you? I'm sorry. Did Robert touch you that day in the log cabin room?
Yes.
Where did he touch you?
On my breast.
Did you see Robert touching Jane that day in the log cabin?
Yes.
Where did he touch her?
On her breast.
And how old were you when you had your first sexual encounter with Robert and Jane?
Like 14.
I'd like to show the witness only exhibit that has not been admitted. Okay. I'm directing your attention to what has been marked as Government Exhibit 107. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
Me.
What grade were you when this photograph was taken?
Like seventh or eighth grade.
And does this photograph fairly or accurately depict what you looked like at that time?
Yes.
Anna, I would like to move to admit and publish Government Exhibit 107.
No objection.
It's admitted. You may publish it.
After that day in the log cabin room, when you were 14 years old, did you have any further sexual contact with Robert and Jane?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to walk through some of that piece by piece, focusing on the time from the incident in the log cabin room when you were 14 and the following months. So, when you were 14 years old, did you have additional sexual contact with Robert and Jane?
Yes.
Can you describe the sexual act that occurred while you were 14 years old with Robert Kelly and Jane?
Well, he taught me how to give oral sex on him and Jane, and we would do stuff like that.
At the time that you first started performing oral sex on Robert and Jane, did you know how to give oral sex?
No.
And at the time that you first started performing oral sex on Robert and Jane, had you ever had any sexual intercourse before?
No.
Now, you already described the day in the log cabin room. Where did the other sex act
You're blanking.
and Jane?
You going out.
I'm going to repeat it. Now, you already described the day log cabin room. Where Jane take place?
Objection. Foundation.
I guess when, and tell him when and where, I guess would be
when you're 14, between 14 and 15. So when you first engaging in these other sex acts, where did they take place?
Like at the studio and at his house sometimes.
Eventually, did you have sexual intercourse with Robert Kelly?
Like 16,
Mm,
15, 16.
You skip.
9.
Oh,
You
I'm
skipped
sorry.
it.
Not right away.
How old were you when you first had sexual intercourse with Robert Kelly?
Like 16, 15, 16.
Objection. I'm going to ask that to the best of the witness's ability to not be guessing. Ages are sort of important. So if there is a way that we can get a foundation as possible.
Fine.
15.
Fine.
I'm sorry. Did you say you were 15 when you first had sexual intercourse with Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Now, after you started having sexual intercourse with Mr. Kelly, was Jane present for times when that occurred?
Yes.
Between the time that you were 14 and 16, approximately how many times did you have oral sex with Mr. Kelly?
A lot.
Can you give a ballpark range at all?
Over 80 times.
Can we get again, is there a time frame here? Are we talking months, years?
I said between 14 and 16 years old.
14 and 16. Okay, thank you.
Focusing on the time frame between the time when you were 14 and 16, approximately how many times did you have sexual intercourse with Robert Kelly?
Over 80 times.
Between the time that you were 14 and 16, approximately how many times did you have threesomes with Robert and Jane?
Like probably 60.
1
Once.
6?
60.
Now, earlier you testified about having sexual contact with Robert Kelly at his recording studio, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall the name of the recording studio?
Tracks.
And why did Robert Kelly have a recording studio?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
Why did Robert Kelly have a recording studio?
Because he records music.
And why does why name does what name does he call music under?
R. Kelly.
So, was he famous at the time that you were spending time with him?
Yes.
8 p.m.
Where was Chicago track located?
On Lorabee.
I'd like to direct your attention to what has been admitted into evidence as Government Exhibit 114A. Do you recognize the photo in Government Exhibit 114A?
Yes.
What is it?
The studio.
I'm showing what has been admitted as Government Exhibit 114B. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
What is it?
Yeah. The call pad to get into the studio.
Excuse me 1 second. You can go ahead.
You were saying that this is the call box to get into the studio. Is that right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm I'm showing what has been admitted as Government Exhibit 114E. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
What is it?
The inside of the studio.
I'm showing you what has been admitted as Government Exhibit 114G. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
And what is this photograph?
One of the offices.
I'm sorry. And that's inside Track Studio?
Yes.
I'm showing what has been marked as Government Exhibit 114L. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
And what is that?
One of the rooms in the studio.
And finally, on your screen is Government Exhibit 114P, which has been admitted into evidence. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
And what is this photograph?
Another part of the room in the studio, which with the bathroom.
Okay. During the time period when you were the age of 14 and 16, how would you typically go to Chicago Tracks to see Robert?
Jane's parents. They would like take us to hang out.
And during that time period between the age of 14 and 16, how would you know Mr. Kelly wanted to see you at Tracks?
We can call his phone or he'll call us, or Jane would let me know that we're going to go hang out.
And when you would call Chicago Tracks between the age of 14 and 16, what phone would you use to call the studio?
My cell phone.
And how did you have the number to Chicago Tracks?
He gave it to me.
And by he, are you referring to Robert Kelly?
Yes.
Now, we just look at some photos that you identify. Can you describe during the time between 14 and 16 some of the rooms that you had sexual contact with Robert Kelly at Tracks?
They were like studios. So in some of the studios, he'll have like couches and then like in other parts of the studio, it might be like a bed or candles like on the floor and stuff.
Did you have sexual contact with him? And again, between the age of 14 and 16, in multiple rooms at Chicago Track?
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to show you what has been admitted into evidence as Government Exhibit 108. Do you recognize the person in this photograph?
Yes.
And for purpose of this trial, we are referring this person as?
Brittany.
And how do you know Brittany?
That was one of my best friends. We went to grade school, middle school, and high school together.
Did you ever see Brittany at Chicago Track?
Yes.
How old were you when you saw Brittany at Chicago Track?
14, 15, 16, 17.
Approximately how many times during the time period 14 to 16 did you see Brittany at Chicago Track?
A number?
Again, estimate of approximately how many times?
Like 50, 60 times.
Did you ever spend time with Brittany and Robert Kelly at Chicago Track?
Yeah.
And did you ever engage in sexual activity with Brittany and Robert Kelly at Track?
Yeah.
And how old were you when the sexual activity with Brittany and Robert Kelly occurred?
Like 15, 16.
And can you please describe the sex act that occurred between Brittany and Robert Kelly?
We would just have threesomes.
Approximately how many times did you have threesomes?
Multiple times.
Okay. I'd like to ask you some question about Robert's tour bus. When you were between the age of 14 and 16, did Robert have a tour bus?
Yes.
And between the age of 14 and 16, did you have sexual contact with Robert on his tour bus?
Yes.
And during the same time period between the age of 14 and 16, did you, Jane, and Robert have threesomes on the tour bus?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to direct your attention to an incident that occurred on the tour bus when you were around 15 or 16. Do you remember where the tour bus was parked?
When?
One of the incidents with Jane and Robert Kelly.
Yes. Outside of the courthouse on 26 in California.
Okay, let's get to the incident in a minute. We'll get to the incident in a minute. Was the tour bus ever parked outside of Hoops?
Yes.
And and did you ever spend time with Robert and Jane on the tour bus when it was near Hoops?
Yes.
And how did you and Jane get onto the tour bus?
We walked on the tour bus. We were escorted, I should say.
Did you ever spend time on Robert's tour bus when it was located outside the state of Illinois?
Yes.
Now, during the time that you were having sexual contact with Robert Kelly, when you were 14, 15, and 16, how did you feel about Robert Kelly?
I love Robert. I love Rob. He was one of my best friends. Yeah.
And did Mr. Kelly express whether he had any feelings about you back when you were in high school?
Yeah. He loved me. We had a lot of fun at times.
And when you were between the age of 14 and 16, were there times that Mr. Kelly provided you with alcohol?
Yes.
What kind of alcohol?
Hypnotic. It was good.
And would you sometime drink alcohol between 14 and 16 before having sexual contact with Mr. Kelly?
Yes, it was more like, just hanging out, you drinking and chilling.
Now, during the time that you were between the age of 14 and 16, did you have sexual contact with Mr. Kelly without Jane?
Yes.
Did you tell Jane that you were having sex with Robert Kelly during that time period?
No. And that's when the problem started. So
Why didn't you tell Jane that you were seeing Robert without her there?
because it was none of her business at the time.
And did Jane eventually find out that you were seeing Robert Kelly without her?
Yeah.
And how old were you when Jane found out?
Like 16.
And what happened after Jane found out that you were that had been going on?
It became very problematic in our friendship.
When you were between the age of 14 and 16, did Robert Kelly ever videotape the two of you having sex?
Yes.
And how do you know that a videotape was used during some of the sexual encounter?
Because he had tripods and cameras in the room.
When you were between the age of 14 and 16, did Robert Kelly ever videotape threesome that you and Robert had with Jane?
Yeah.
And did he ever videotape threesome that you and Robert had with Brittany between the age of 14 and 16?
Yeah.
Do you know where Robert Kelly kept the video that he made of you having sex?
He used to have videos in like in his like gym bag, but he kept them in different places.
Did you ever take a videotape from Mr. Kelly's gym bag?
Yeah,
Approximately, how old were you when that happened?
like 15.
And why did you take the tape from the gym bag?
Because I was just a rebel.
And did you watch the tape to see what it was on it?
No, I didn't watch it.
And what did you do with the tape after taking it?
I gave it back to him.
What was his reaction when he found out that you took the tape?
He was real mad.
I'd like to direct your attention to late 2001, where you were sitting in the Chicago area at the time. Were you living in the Chicago area at the time?
Yeah.
And did you participate in an interview I'm sorry, an interview with officers from the Chicago Police Department?
Yes, I did.
Was anyone else present in the interview with the CPD?
I think my mom was present at that time.
And earlier you stated that you were born in 1984, correct?
That's correct.
So would you have turned 17 in October 2001, correct?
Correct.
Did the officer tell you that they wanted to ask you about during the interview?
Yes, they said they wanted to show me a picture and for me to identify the person.
And your mother was present when they were going to show you this picture?
Yes.
And did they show you a picture during that interview?
Yes.
Can you describe the picture that they showed you?
They showed me a picture of Jane like naked with Rob, and then they showed me another photo of her on a tour bus with someone, but their face was blurred out.
And when you saw the photo, did you identify the person that was in those photos?
Eventually, yes.
Can you describe what you mean by eventually?
I said, fuck. I was nervous because my mom was with me. And I didn't want to tell on my friend. And I didn't want to incriminate myself because I didn't want my mom to know what was going on. But I knew my mom knew that that was Jane. So I couldn't say that it wasn't Jane when it was Jane. So I just said, yes, it was Jane. But I did not tell them what the other photo was.
And at that time, you were 17. And when your mom, during that interview with the police, did she know that you were having sexual contact with Robert Kelly?
No, she don't know that. No.
And based on the photo of Jane when she was naked with Robert Kelly, could you tell where that photo had been taken?
No, I can't tell where that particular one was taken. I think it was on the tour bus.
After the interview with CPD in late 2001, did you later receive a subpoena to testify before the grand jury at Cook County?
Yes.
And did you tell Robert Kelly about the subpoena that you received?
Yes, I did.
And what was his response?
He was upset. He said that I don't supposed to be talking to those people. And I put him in a very tricky situation. And I apologize because that was not my intent. I never want to hurt Rob. That was not my intention. But if my mom was present, I didn't know what else to do.
You testified before the grand jury in May 2002?
Yes.
And were you 17 years old at the time, correct?
Correct.
Did you have an attorney present with you for the testimony?
Yes, I did.
And who hired that attorney?
My mother.
During your grand jury testimony in 2000, you shown photograph of Jane?
Yes.
And were those similar to the photograph that you had been shown by the police officer before your testimony?
Yes.
And when asked, what did you do?
I did it. I identified her.
During your grand jury testimony, were you asked about whether you had ever seen Jane having a physical relationship with Robert Kelly?
Yes.
And what did you say in response to that question?
I told them no.
And so you lied about what you knew about Jane and Robert Kelly?
I sure did. Yes, I did.
And why? Why did you lie to the grand jury?
Because I wasn't going to admit that in front of my mom for nobody. Period.
At any point during the grand jury process, did you tell the state prosecutor that you and Robert Kelly were also having sex when you were a minor?
No, I did not.
And why is that?
A couple of reasons. The first reason, I did not want to have myself involved. Second reason, I didn't want to put Rob in even worse situation. I was calling myself trying to be as loyal as possible, but not mess up things with my own mom and make her feel like something was tricky going on. And they asked me specifically about some pictures, and that's what I was talking about with them. I was talking to them about. They didn't have pictures of me, so I didn't need to insert myself into that situation.
Now, earlier you testified that after you graduated from high school, you attended college, correct?
Yeah.
And did you come to Chicago during Robert Kelly's trial in 2008?
Yes.
Who asked you to come to Chicago at that time?
Rob.
And did Mr. Kelly tell you why he wanted you to come to Chicago during the trial?
No. He said he wanted to see me. We talked. He wanted to talk to me about, what was going on, but we didn't discuss that over the phone until I came to town.
And after you arrived in Chicago during the trial in 2008, did you meet with Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
And where did you meet? Where did that meeting take place?
On the tour bus. That's when I first got dropped off on the tour bus on 26 in California.
So, it was parked near the courthouse on 26 in California?
Yes.
Was Robert Kelly on the bus when you arrived at first?
No, not at the time. No.
So, what did you do when you arrived and he wasn't there?
I sat there and waited.
About how long did you wait on the bus before you saw Robert Kelly?
About 2 hours.
And was anyone else on the tour bus while you were waiting?
Not to my knowledge at that time. No.
And when Robert Kelly arrived, did you learn that someone else was on the tour bus?
Yes, I did.
And who was on the bus?
Jane.
And when you saw Jane on the bus, how were you happy to see her?
I was in tears, yeah. I hadn't I hadn't seen her in a long, very, very long time.
How did Jane react when she saw you?
She was a little standoffish.
And did you have a conversation with Robert and Jane on the tour bus?
Yes.
And what was said by Mr. Kelly during that conversation?
We talked about what was going on and how they were trying to make him this bad guy and that we knew he's not a bad guy. And I'm like, yeah, you're not a bad guy. And how you know he didn't want me saying the wrong thing and the wrong person because they can misconstrue your words, you know? So we talked about that type of stuff. And, I really wanted to talk to her more, but we were just not on good terms.
And this conversation you described about not talking to people, are you referring to, was he referring to what was going on with the trial?
Yes, and like the police and stuff. But like I told him then, I didn't find them. They found me. I didn't go looking for these people to try to throw anybody under the bus, even today. That's just not what I do. But when they keep, you see people, you're going to have to eventually talk to people. Nobody's stupid.
And when you were referring, they found me, are you referring to being served with a grand jury subpoena?
Yeah,
Were you called to testify at the 2008 trial?
no.
Okay. Before moving to the last few topics, I do have to ask you. You talked about having oral sex with Robert Kelly between the age of 14 and 16. I do to explain. I do have you explain your definition of that.
Sucking dick.
That's not what she said.
Oh, sucking cock.
And sexual intercourse, can you explain your definition of that as well?
Him inserting it in me.
And by it, do you mean his penis?
Vaginally, yes.
Okay. I'd like to direct your attention to the weeks leading up to your 20th birthday. Since you were born in October 1984, would have turned 20 in October 2004, correct?
Yes.
When you were 19 going on 20, were you still in contact with Robert Kelly?
Yes.
And during that time frame, do you recall placing a telephone call to Robert's studio?
Yeah.
And why did you call Robert's studio?
Because he was not being a good boyfriend at the time. He was not answering my phone calls.
And did you leave a message at the studio?
Yes.
And did Robert get back in touch with you after you left a message?
He sure did.
Can you explain why you reached out to him and what message you left for him?
Well, he calls it extortion. I call it don't play with me. Brittany and I was trying to get his attention, and I kept calling him. And I was like, he not answering. Okay, I got him. So I was like, this what we gonna do. We concocted up this idea that if we call and tell him that I don't know. At the time, it was something going on, but we were like, I'm gonna tell him that I'm gonna get ready to tell my mama everything if he don't give me such and such thousands of dollars. And she's like, don't do that because you're gonna get we're gonna get in trouble. I'm like, you so scary. She was always very scary. I didn't care, so I did it. I portrayed like I was her, but it really wasn't her. It was me. And of course, he called me back. He was like, I shouldn't have did that. He was upset.
Did you follow through with the request for money from Robert?
No, it was, I mean, to tell y'all, it's like, I don't want to say you're judging me or us, but that was like my boyfriend. So girls get mad and say stupid stuff or want to slap you or bust your car windows out, you know? I never did that. I'm just saying it was just a threat. I wasn't, he knew that. If he didn't if he didn't knew that, he wouldn't have had me still around all these other years. I never got the money. It wasn't even about the money. It was just trying to get his attention and he called, so it worked.
When you did your sexual, I'm sorry, when did your sexual contact with Mr. Kelly end? How old were you?
I was grown. I was out of college.
Now, earlier you testified that you were not completely truthful to the police and the grand jury when asked about Robert Kelly in 2002, correct?
Yes.
Why are you testifying here today?
Objection, Judge, because she has a subpoena and she's supposed to testify. I mean, I don't think it's appropriate.
Your Honor, the witness can answer that question herself.
Okay, it's
Overruled. Overruled. She can answer.
Why are you testifying?
Because it's that I'm in a different place in life. I have direct accountability for having sex with him. Yes, that is true. I could have probably said no or told my mom or someone earlier, but I was scared. I loved him. I still love him. Like, that was really my close friend. He, it was in a wild way. I know you all might judge me, but it was like best friend mates, boyfriend mate meets dad. And one person, he taught me a lot. And I'm just at a different place. I'm a mom now, I'm a wife. So things that I thought were cool when I was a teenager, oh, this is awesome. We're hanging out. I can do whatever. That's not okay when I'm a 37-year-old mother and somebody did something to my kids, I'm killing them. Period.
okay, Judge. I don't know what this narrative is, but it's gone on, I think.
Your Honor, can I have him one moment, please?
All right. One moment.
Nothing further.
Miss Bojine, you may cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, we're calling you Pauline, I guess, right?
You can hear just like I can.
Ooh.
Dang. Okay.
Oh,
Woo!
okay. I represent Mr. Kelly,
Awesome.
and I want to ask you some questions, and I'd like you to answer truthfully, okay? First of all, you claim that you allegedly discovered Mr. Kelly in you called it the Pine Room, right?
No, that's not what I said.
Well, you previously have referred to it as the Pine Room.
Uh, pine room, cabin room. Okay.
Okay, so you're agreeing that you have previously referred to it as the Pine Room, right?
No, I didn't say that. You said it.
Okay, have you previously told the federal agents that it was called the Pine Room?
Perhaps I have.
Okay,
It's been so many years of this.
So that's a yes. You have previously referred to it as the Pine Room. That's a yes, right?
That's a perhaps.
Okay, well, how about perhaps we'll show you your prior testament statements and
Ooh.
then,
And we can proceed. You're right.
okay, great.
You've got the right one.
Ooh. Do you remember being interviewed by the Assistant United States Attorneys at the table and a Special Agent Reynolds and Molina back on June 12th of 2019? Last sentence, Pauline.
Yes.
Okay. Go to the next page. And at page 3 of 6, I want to have you look at the first half of that paragraph and read it to yourself first.
Okay.
So, did you refer to the room that you?
I guess so. Yes.
Okay, all right, no problem. You also said it had lots of fur in it, right?
Yes, I did. It did.
Okay, you can take that down. What year was it that you found Mr. Kelly and your friend Jane in the Pine Room?
Like 97.
Okay. And you claim that you were there taking a dance class with Andrea Kelly. Is that right? Or I think a dance type of, I don't know. I don't know if it was a class.
She's a choreographer. I was there. We went shopping that day and they were practicing for an upcoming tour. So because I'm into dance, I was watching that. That's what I claim.
Okay. And then at some point you noticed that Jane wasn't around and you said you went looking for her, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when you purportedly found them in the Pine Room, the door wasn't locked. It was just wide open.
No, it was cracked.
Oh, it was cracked. So you were able to just go right in. Is that right?
Yeah,
And you were savvy. You understood that you were seeing was wrong, right?
I sure did.
In fact, you even told Jane and Mr. Kelly that you knew right from wrong, right?
Yeah.
But this isn't a story that you ever told anyone until 2019. Am I correct?
No,
Well, this isn't a story you've told certainly any law enforcement until 2019, correct?
correct.
All right. And so you sort of kept this a secret for what, over 20 some years? Is that right?
Yep,
And you've been interviewed by law enforcement on numerous occasions prior to June of 2019, right?
I sure have.
And at each point, you failed to disclose any information about what you saw in the Pine Room in 1997.
I didn't fail. I didn't fail. I was a scared minor. So that's how I reacted to it.
Well, you didn't stay a minor. You had the opportunity to tell assistant state's attorneys at the time he was being prosecuted when you were actually an adult, right?
Yes. And I was still afraid at that time to say that
Right.
because anytime someone is going through something, you have no time limit on their healing.
Okay, well, that's interesting. My question is, though, you did not tell anybody in law enforcement, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, any federal agents, anybody in law enforcement about this incident during this criminal prosecution in state court or at any prior to 2019, right?
Correct.
All right. And in fact, you testified against Mr. Kelly before the grand jury in 2002, right?
Correct.
And your testimony is part led to his indictment for child pornography in 2002, correct?
Objection. No foundation for question.
She can. It's cross-examination.
Right?
I guess so.
Well, you knew he then became indicted, right?
Yes.
And you?
As everyone else did.
Right. So, and you knew you were one of the witnesses who testified before the grand jury and identified him as a person in that video, correct?
Yes.
That same location that you yourself claim to have seen them in back in 1997, right?
Yes.
And your mother also testified and identified or told the police that that was her, that Jane was in that video, correct?
Correct.
And did your mom testify before the grand jury too?
No.
Okay, so, and you and your mom were quite close, as I understand it,
We're very close.
right? And you were so close that you said that, you can possibly have, denied that it was your friend and Mr. Kelly in front of your mom, right?
Right.
And she's the one who was like, "You're talking to this detective, correct?"
Correct.
Right. When you talked to the detective, you weren't trying to protect anybody. You weren't trying to protect Rob.
Yes, I was.
Well, by protecting him, you identified him. Is that your idea of protecting him?
If I see a spider and I know it's a spider, I'm going to say it's a spider. No one is going to tell me that I don't see who I see.
Right. Because you thought it important to tell the truth, right?
They asked me a question that was in my face. So I responded truthfully at that moment. Yes.
You thought it was important to tell the truth about what you saw, right?
Correct.
And you certainly didn't want to lie to a grand jury, correct?
Correct.
I mean, you understand that that would be a crime to lie before the grand jury, correct?
Yes.
Even at 17 years old, you understood that it would be a crime to give false testimony before a grand jury, right?
It's also a crime to do a lot of things, but people get away with it daily. Correct?
That's a great point. And you yourself are among those people, as it turns out, right? Is that right?
Yep.
And you testified before the grand jury, despite the fact that you are not, you weren't Team Rob and Team Jane, right?
That's not true.
Well, Jane didn't even identify herself in this video. You knew that, right?
Yeah.
And she didn't want you to identify her, correct?
That's between her and herself. But I'm going to say what I see.
Right. And you were, I'm guessing, very independent and strong willed, even at 17, right?
All the time.
All right. So when you were asked, have you ever seen Jane and Mr. Kelly in a sexual relationship? You actually told the truth, which was, no, I have not seen that.
No, that was a lie.
Okay. So despite the fact that you were truthful about everything else and you were an independent, strong-minded woman who was trying to do the right thing, that was the one thing you lied about, right?
Yes, because again, because I was Team Jane and Rob. I just was going to state the obvious that my mother and anyone else can see that it was Jane. But I didn't want to go into details and tell them that I did not want to do that.
Right. So instead, you made the decision to give false testimony before a grand jury, right?
I guess so.
Okay. Now you did have a sexual relationship with Mr. Kelly that extended over a period of time. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. It didn't start when you were 14 or 15 or even 16, correct?
No, what are you talking about?
Well, let me ask you this. In 2004, while Mr. Kelly's prosecution was pending against him, okay, you were what, 19-ish? Does that sound about right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in 2004, he had a pending case against him. You understood that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, you were in a sexual relationship with Mr. Kelly, fair?
You said what now?
At that point in 2004, you were in a sexual relationship with Mr. Kelly, fair?
I had always been.
Okay. And you, of course, knew that he was fighting these charges and would eventually go to trial on those charges that were pending in 2004, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you have explained that you and your friend Brittany came up with this plan to get 35,000 from Mr. Kelly, right?
Yeah.
Am I getting something wrong there?
You heard me say that earlier. Yes,
Okay. And you ended up calling up his business and pretending to be Brittany. Is that correct?
correct.
And Brittany is a year older than you. Am I right about that?
Yes,
Okay. And you spoke with someone from the company, right?
yes,
And you told that person that again, you're talking as Brittany. Am I correct?
correct,
So you were misrepresenting yourself?
correct,
And you said that something inappropriate had happened on the bus, right?
correct.
And you were referring to something that had recently happened inappropriate on the bus, correct?
I didn't say when it happened. I just told them that something inappropriate happened.
Okay. And what were you referring to?
It doesn't matter. I just said it.
What were you referring to?
It didn't matter at the time. I said it to get his attention, and it got it.
I understand, but I'm asking you now, what were you referencing?
I can't remember back then. It was so long ago.
Oh
You
my
have
God.
no idea what you were referencing?
It could have been anything.
Okay. And well, I think the jury would like to know what the conduct was that you were referencing on the bus back in 2004. Can you answer that?
No, I can't.
And you said to this person, was it someone at Bass Productions or who was it you were speaking to exactly?
I don't recall.
Okay, it wasn't Robert himself. It was
It wouldn't have been Robert because he wasn't answering my calls.
right. You were mad about that, right?
Very mad about that. Yeah,
I see. And you were speaking to a man or a woman.
a man.
Okay. And you told the man that something has happened that's inappropriate. But you were saying it happened against your friend Brittany, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that if he doesn't, respond, we're going to take further action or something along.
You can play the tape if you want to.
Okay.
I'm sure you have it.
Okay. Well, I'd ask Judge that she answer the question rather than put out information that may or may not be relevant to these proceedings. But it's not her place to decide. You're a witness, okay?
Your Honor, I'm not sure what the question is.
Repeat your question that you want her to answer.
What I said was you told someone from Bass Productions or some man that if Robert didn't call you back about this incident, you were going to take further action, right?
Yes.
Okay. You think there's a tape of that conversation?
I don't know.
You seem to. You're the one that just said you can play the tape. Is there a tape of that conversation?
I'm not sure. I'm just saying you seem to have so much evidence. You have to have so many slides.
Hmm. Do you know of a tape of that information? Okay, let's you are the witness. You answer the questions that I asked, okay? Are you aware of a tape of your attempt to extort Mr. Kelly? I'd like to know that.
No,
Okay, but you don't disagree, right, that there was a communication to this person that if he doesn't get back in touch with us, we're going to authorities or something like that, right?
absolutely.
Right. And you knew he had a pending child pornography case, right?
Correct.
That would get his attention, I assume, right?
It did.
Okay. And you also wrote a letter to him, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you threatened him that if he didn't pay you 35,000 about some incident on the bus.
Well, it was not my handwriting. He left a message, so let's state that the person at the studio.
Okay, I'm asking you, did you write the letter?
No,
Who wrote the letter?
the person leaving the message.
Wasn't that you?
I was verbally giving a message. Someone had to manually write a message.
Okay, so who put the pen to the paper to author the letter?
I'm not sure.
Did you see the letter?
No,
You never saw the letter that was the corresponding attempt to extort money from your phone call.
I don't believe so. I don't recall.
Are you suggesting that Brittany wrote the letter?
I'm not suggesting anything.
Pauline, did you see a letter?
I don't recall.
She asked and answered, Your Honor. Objection.
Did you ever see a letter that was purportedly written by either you or your friend Brittany?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Not answered.
Well, okay. Answer it once more. Did you or did you not see a letter?
I don't recall.
Okay, now, in your phone call to whoever it is that you placed this phone call to, you didn't threaten to disclose that you had had a relationship with Mr. Kelly as a minor, right?
No.
And you didn't threaten to disclose that Jane had a relationship with Mr. Kelly as a minor, did you?
Again, I was posing to be Brittany. So why would I do that?
Again, whether you are posing to be Brittany or not, you did not threaten to disclose that Mr. Kelly had a relationship with Jane, did you?
No.
And you didn't, and according to you, you didn't write any letter threatening to disclose an illicit relationship with you and Mr. Kelly as a minor, right?
No.
And you didn't see any letter, it sounds like, threatening to disclose an illicit relationship with you and Mr. Kelly, right?
I don't recall.
Okay, so in your effort to extort Mr. Kelly of $35,000, you didn't lead with your best stuff, did you?
Again, I was really not trying to extort him for money.
It seems that if you really want to get someone's attention, you might have mentioned, oh, remember we had an illicit relationship as a minor, but you didn't do that, did you?
No, because I was calling my boyfriend. I don't have to state facts where he already knew facts. Were stated.
No, but you conjured up some other incident to threaten him with revealing information that would impact his case. But you didn't. You didn't use the really good stuff, did you?
Nope. I did just enough to get his attention.
Okay. Now you claim that between the ages of 14 and 16, you had 60 threesomes with Jane. Is that right?
Yeah.
You previously said you had 100 threesomes with her.
Well, today you asked me just throw a number. I said lots. We can say 100. We can say 200. We fucked a lot.
Okay. That was the government asking you those questions. But it sounds to me like you're being precise isn't really important to you. Am I right?
It's important.
So to you, 60, 100, 200, it doesn't really matter, right?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say whether it's once or twice, what's wrong is wrong, right?
Well, that's a different question. It's still your obligation to give truthful testimony. And that's what I'm asking you to do, okay?
And I'm trying my hardest to do that, ma'am.
Okay.
However, when you are dealing with such long durations of time, I might not have the numbers 100%
Right.
precise, but I'm trying to be as precise as possible.
Right.
So we can say 100 if you want.
I don't have a desire to testify for you. I like you to testify to the best of your ability. So now you're saying it's possibly 100 times, right?
Yes.
Possibly 200 times.
If we're counting, I don't know.
Okay, could it be 500 times?
No, it wasn't that much.
All right. And you testified that you gave testimony before the grand jury and you had spoken to Mr. Kelly before you gave that testimony, right?
Yes, in his kitchen.
Right. And you told him that you had identified him and were going to identify him, correct?
Yes.
And he said he understood. He understood that you had to go in there and tell the truth, right?
Yes.
So he didn't say, go in there and lie. He said, I understand the predicament you're in. Go tell the truth, didn't he?
He stated, all right, do what you got to do. I understand because you already said what you had to say.
Right. So he said, go do what you got to do. He didn't say, for instance, make sure you don't tell the Cook County State's attorney about the time you walked in on Jane and I, right?
Oh, he stated not to tell the wrong information. He stated that, yes, he definitely did to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's important stuff. You certainly would have told the federal agents of those facts when you spoke to them.
Why? That's just a conversation.
It would seem that conversation with Mr. Kelly in and around this time period would be important. So you are now saying that you had a conversation with him where he said to you something along the lines of, don't mention what you saw.
No, he didn't say, don't mention what you saw. He said, you already didn't fucked up.
Okay.
That was what he said. He said, you already done fucked up.
And
And you already done said who is who. So you gonna stick with that.
okay. And this testimony that you're giving today, you've never told anybody about before, right?
Nope.
Hmm. So this is just something you get to hear about for the first time today. Is that right?
You asked a question, I'm giving you the answer.
Right. Yeah. It seems to me that you are giving us information for the first time today, even though you've been, let's talk about how many times you've been interviewed by the federal agents and the U.S. attorneys. Quite a few, right?
Mm-hmm.
June 12th was your first interview, right?
Yes.
And in fact, in that interview on June 12th of 2019, you never even mentioned that you had a sexual relationship with Mr. Kelly when you were underage, did you?
I don't recall.
Well, shall we look at the report?
Yeah, let's look at it.
Okay, pull it up. This is your first time where you're a grown adult, a mother, and you're coming in to tell the truth, right?
Oh no, this was the first time where they found me in my last house and I told them I would cooperate and come and see what they were saying. Yeah.
But you gave an interview then and you provided a lot of information, right?
Yeah.
And one bit of information you did not tell them was about your relationship with him as a minor, correct?
No. We had a conversation.
Okay, well, let's look at this. You testified. Go to the next page, please, Ashley. Now, during at the bottom of page 1 and to the next page, we looked at that a little bit, but I'm going to let you look at it again. You conveyed to the agents about this incident in which you found them in
The pine room is what you said.
the pine room. Yeah. Well, that's what you said.
Right. We're going to call it the pine room.
Okay, let's keep with that. And you did mention there was this interaction where, you touch, you kiss your friend. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you did say that. And then at no point after that did you mention that you had an ongoing sexual relationship with Mr. Kelly.
Right. There. It talks about me feeling like I'm living a double life. Secrets were of a sexual nature.
Right, yeah.
So, what does that mean?
I don't know.
A sexual relationship.
Again, you did not tell the agents about your sexual relationship with him after you disclosed Jane and Mr. Kelly in the pound room, right?
No, it says right here, stated that every time she would visit Miss Kelly's home, more secrets were created.
Okay, you said more secrets were created, right?
So you can imagine what those secrets are.
I don't like to imagine as lawyers.
Oh, well, I don't like to say about molestation. So I guess I should have used the words
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Did she go out?
me.
Oh,
She must
yeah, I
have.
didn't hear your last part. But
I'll say it
right.
again.
Okay.
Oh, I'll say it again. Oh, well, I don't like to say about molestation. So I guess I should have used the word having sex instead of secrets.
Right. You
I apologize.
Well, secrets could have been anything, right?
No, they weren't anything because we were talking about what was going on.
You could have
Previously stated,
You could have. A secret is also one secret that you kept, according to you, is catching Robert and Jane in this pine room, right? That was a secret, right?
exactly.
Right.
So again, we were talking about sexual secrets.
Okay. I would like you to take as much time as you want reading this to where you told the agents that from 14 to 16, you, Pauline, engaged in a sexual relationship with Mr. Kelly. And I'll just take you right to the spot of page 4 through 6, third paragraph. You, in fact, said that you had you indicated sexual interactions with Kelly and Jane at the recording studio when you were 16 or 17 years old, right?
I did it then as well. Yes.
You never mentioned anything in this report about it being 14 or 15. Am I right?
Not in this report, but
Okay,
they are also asking different times and different events. But it's been multiple times.
right. Again, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of the fact that you never told the agents on June 12th that you were 14 or 15 when you had these sexual relations, right?
No, but I did state that we were in the 7th and 8th grade.
Well, 17, you weren't in 7th or 8th grade, right?
My point. So do the math. I wasn't 16 or 17 at the time.
So you're saying that you told them you were in 7th or 8th grade when you had a sexual relationship with Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Well, start at the beginning of that report. Perhaps you can find it for us. Let me know when you see that you said that.
Okay. So in the statement, you're correct. It doesn't state that
All right, great.
time frame.
All right. And you claim today that you were provided with alcohol, right?
Yes, hypnotic.
Okay, what does hypnotic look like?
It's blue. It used to be his favorite drink.
Okay, maybe I'm going to ask her to look at hypnotic. Is that the drink that you drank?
Yes.
Okay, it's called hypnotic.
Yeah.
And you claim you were drinking this from the age of 14 to 16, right?
I didn't say from 14. I said we drank drinks. I said like him hypnotic.
Okay, okay.
That's what I like to drink.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. I think you know where I'm going with this too.
I think you know where I'm going with it. I'm pretty sure in 2001 I was still in high school.
Well, no. Let's 14 to 16, you testified that you would drink hypnotic with Mr. Kelly and Jane or whomever, right?
Mhm.
And you know hypnotic didn't even hit the market until 2002, right?
Okay, we were drinking it then.
Okay, and so you couldn't have been drinking it hypnotic when you were 14.
Why would you think that?
It didn't exist in 14, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
And you couldn't have been drinking it when you were 15 because it didn't exist when you were 15.
Okay. But I was still drinking.
So it wasn't hypnotic now.
I stated it was lots of different drinks. I talked about hypnotic because that was my favorite drink to drink.
Right. You not only mentioned that here today.
I mention it all the time
Right.
because I know what we used to drink.
Right.
He used to make a drink called the Incredible Hawk. It's with Hennessy and hypnotic mix.
Right. And you testified that you recall or Kelly called your life a fantasy island. Is that right?
Yes, Fantasy Island.
Okay. You told the agents that you'd been drinking hypnotic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you were drinking hypnotic with Mr. Kelly, you had to be 17 years old.
No.
All right. You can take that down. Now, you didn't just attempt to extort Mr. Kelly in 2004 when he was facing criminal trial. You also stole the tape from him earlier, right?
I took a tape.
Okay.
and gave it back to him.
I always get the took and stole wrong. So you took a tape, but you didn't have permission to take it, right?
No,
You didn't know what was on it, right?
I still don't. I didn't watch it.
Okay, and you demanded 50,000 for that tape, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I did not.
Okay, do you remember giving an interview to the US attorneys and the federal agents over here on June 26th of 2019?
No, let me see.
Okay, well, let's take a look. Let me know if you can it refreshes your recollection. It says it was in Oak Park, Illinois.
Nope, don't remember.
Okay, let's see. Go to page 4 of 6, middle of the page.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask you to answer my question. I don't need you to read it out loud. Just read it to yourself, and then I'm going to have a question for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You told the agents that you told Mr. Kelly that you had the videotape and would return it for $50,000, right?
Yes.
Okay, take that down. You do have a nickname you go by. We're not going to mention what it is, but you do have a nickname you go by, right?
Everyone has a nickname.
I don't. But I'll take your word for the fact that most of the people in your world have a nickname, and that's fine. But you do.
What do you mean, my world?
Your friends, the people that you associate with, have nicknames.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing wrong with having a nickname. My children have nicknames. Don't read into my statement. You have a nickname.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes, I said everyone has a nickname.
Okay. The nickname you have, Mr. Kelly, purportedly gave you, that's what you're previously stated before, right?
Yep,
So you've kept that nickname.
I have. That's what I go by.
Right. That's what, right?
That's what my friends and people call me. Yeah,
Right. And that's a nickname that Mr. Kelly gave you?
right. Yes.
Didn't think maybe you might want to go by a different nickname from this guy that allegedly abused you? Has that never crossed your mind?
And again, I just told you earlier, yes, he abused me, but I really loved him and we were in a relationship. So, yeah, I'm going to call myself what I want to call myself.
Okay, to each their own.
What did you say?
I said to each their own.
Yep.
All right. Okay. You have testified that. Let me get to the bottom of this. You testified that you were asked to look at during the 2001 investigation prior to your grand jury testimony. You looked at some photos, right? And that's when you identified Jane. You mentioned you looked at another photo from the tour bus
Uh-huh.
and who showed you that photo?
That officer that was in that area we were on. I don't know that precinct, but it's in the Lawndale community off of Holman. Yeah, that officer showed me that.
Detective Everett, does that ring a bell?
I don't remember his name.
Okay. And you said there was a picture blurred out on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else was in the photo of the individuals who were not blurred out?
Jane.
Okay. Just Jane?
No, it was a blurred out photo.
It was what?
A blurred out photo.
When you say blurred out, you mean the faces were blurred out.
Yeah, it was distorted.
Okay. You cannot tell the person? Oh,
You
okay.
you, you could not tell the person.
And you're stating here that you were shown a photo of a photo that included Mr. Kelly.
Yes, one of the photos.
The one on the tour bus?
There were 3 different photos.
Let's talk about the one on the tour bus, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It had Mr. Kelly's image on it.
That was exhibit 2. Yes.
Okay. I'm talking about, did you see any of the photos here today that you're referencing right this second?
No.
Okay, let's focus on that one. Was Mr. Kelly's face in that photo?
Yes.
Okay, what about Jane's face?
Yes.
And you're saying there was someone else on that?
Yeah.
And who was that?
Not not on that side. Like the picture that they were showing me, it was a separate picture with Jane and another girl.
Okay, and who was that?
It doesn't matter. I don't know. It was blurred out.
Okay, are you suggesting it was you?
I suggested that it was blurry, so I could not see it.
Do you suspect it was you?
It was blurry.
Yeah, so you suspect it was you, right?
It was blurry.
Okay. And are you telling me at no point Detective Everett showed you that non-blurred out photo? Was it blurred out? Well, strike that. It was just blurry because that was the photo, or was it blurred out by?
That was just
Hold on. Let me finish my question. Or was it blurred out by law enforcement?
no. It was blurred out because that was the way that they took the still shot from the video. It was a video. He told me it was a videotape. They stilled the shot and it was blurry.
And you're saying it was from the tour bus.
Yes.
And he asked you to look at it and see if you could identify the people.
The people who were in it. Yes.
Yeah, and you suspected it was you, but you didn't tell him. Is that right?
I didn't say that.
Okay. Have you ever seen this ever again since Detective Everett showed it to you in 2001?
No.
Okay. Did these individuals over here at the government's table ever show you this video that you are referencing?
No, it wasn't a video. I said it was a still shot of the video.
Right. Did they ever show you a video of an alleged threesome on a tour bus?
No.
Did they ever show you any still shots from an alleged threesome on a tour bus?
No.
Have you ever seen any video from an alleged threesome on a tour bus?
Yes, that day.
You saw the video or you saw still shots?
No, I saw the still shots. I've never watched a video.
Okay, so when I pull up Detective Everett back in here, he's going to confirm that you actually viewed still shots from a video of a threesome.
Yes, he would. Yes.
Okay,
Miss Bojine, how much longer are you going?
not too much longer. Do you want to take a break?
We can take our morning break now.
Okay.
15 minutes. Okay, be at ease. Please be seated. Miss Bojine, you may continue your cross.
Thank you. The government is not here.
Sorry about that. Are we ready? Okay.
Pauline, when you were growing up, your mother was pretty strict, right?
Yes.
Quite strict, correct?
Yes.
So, where was she when you were having these hundreds of threesomes with Mr. Kelly and Jane?
At home.
And so, like 100 threesomes is like having one every 2 days, right? Or every 3 days.
No, it can be a lot in one night.
Okay. So, when you are tallying up your threesomes, you're counting multiple encounters in one evening.
Yeah.
Okay. And even so, where did your mother think you were when you were?
That's a good question.
Let me ask the question, and then I will give you the opportunity to answer it, okay? When did your mother, where did your mother think you were doing those times that you were having these countless sexual encounters with Mr. Kelly?
That's a great question. She thought I was with my friend, Jane.
Okay, for all of them, right?
Majority, yes. Because you know what? Sometimes, just sometimes.
I don't need you to go on.
Oh, okay.
We're just here to answer the question, okay?
But a question is not always cut and dry.
It is for me, though, right now, okay?
Okay.
And I'm control of the questions. I'm in control. Now, when you threatened Mr. Kelly to release this tape for 50,000, were you playing then too?
He, you saw the statement. He said quit playing.
He didn't say anything. That's your account. So I'm asking you. He didn't say anything there, okay? You're not seeing anything from him. So don't misstate that and just listen to the question. Were you playing when you threatened to extort him for $50,000 for the tape?
Yes.
And when did you take that tape?
Out of his gym bag.
I didn't say where. I didn't say from where. I said, when did you take it?
I don't recall.
What year?
When I was a minor.
Okay, well, that's a lot of years.
Yep.
Are you able to
We're talking about a lot of years, so I can't.
pinpoint?
Nope, I can't. Not at this time.
Okay, and during these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sexual experiences, they took place at, you said, at his home and then at the studio, right?
Different places.
Okay.
At his condo in New Orleans.
When did he have a condo in New Orleans?
Oh, he has a condo on New Orleans.
When were you at the condo in New Orleans?
When I was in high school.
You had sexual experiences at this condo where?
On New Orleans. Right around the corner from Tracks.
Okay, and what years was that?
Between 99 and, well, 2000, 2003. I was in high school. I know that.
Okay, so now it's 2000 to 2003. Is that right?
I'm just saying it was a lot of years or whatever, but
Well, 2003, you're not a minor, right?
you know I was in high school, sweetheart. I was a minor.
Ma'am, you don't get to define how the law defines being a minor. In 2003, you weren't 17 years old, right?
But in 2099, I was.
Okay, when were you having sexual experiences with him at the condo?
When I was about 16 or 17 years old.
Okay, 17 is not a minor under Illinois law. Did you know that?
I learned something new every day.
Okay, now you had a relationship with Jane's cousin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what years was that?
I don't recall. When I was a minor.
Right. And you didn't lose your virginity to Mr. Kelly, did you?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay. And so when was your first sexual intercourse experience with Mr. Kelly, according to you?
Objection. Rule 412 motion.
Objection sustained.
No, that's as to Mr. Kelly. I can ask her about Mr. Kelly.
Well, but you're asking about, as I understand, Rule 412. It covers this situation.
And you allowed Judge to inquire about her sexual relationships with Mr. Kelly. In fact, I think that's why we're here.
Your Honor, I may have misheard the question, so I withdraw my objection. If she's asking about Mr. Kelly the first time.
All right, all right.
Okay, when was your first sexual intercourse experience with Mr. Kelly? How old were you?
15. Well, are you talking about actually doing it or sucking? It's two different things. I'm sure you know that.
I'm sorry?
I said, I'm sure you know that.
I am aware of those being two different things, but I said intercourse. Does that not make sense to you?
Okay. So that would be 15.
Okay, so 15, according to you, right? And where did that happen at?
At the studio. That was the first time.
Was anyone else present besides Mr. Kelly?
Jane.
And when did you start having your side relationship with Mr. Kelly?
15 and a half-ish.
And you knew that was Jane living with Mr. Kelly, or were they in a relationship as far as you knew at that time?
They were in a relationship.
And where was his wife through all of this?
Yeah, exactly.
She'd be at the house.
And she was, you saw her, she saw you, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
All right. I take it it's your understanding that she was aware that this was all going on?
I didn't never say that. I said, as a woman, couldn't nobody be in my house and I don't know.
Okay. So I'll take that as a yes. It's your belief she knew this was going on.
That's not what I said. I said, as a woman, couldn't nobody be in my house and have anything going on that I don't know about.
Okay.
So you can't just put it on like him.
Okay. And then you continued your relationship with him through college, right?
Yes, we were friends still. Yeah,
More than friends?
yeah.
Right. In fact, he paid some of your tuition, right?
One time, yes.
He paid a semester of tuition for you, right?
A half a semester. Yes.
Okay. And you also are a little angry at him because you think he owes you money, right?
I'm not angry at him. I have no ill wills. How I felt at the time, maybe not how I feel now. Maybe one comes a place in time where we can leave well enough alone. It is what it is.
Okay. You mentioned to the government that you thought he owed you what, like 200 grand or something?
That was a long time ago. Yeah.
Because you had planned some parties for him, is that right?
I was trying to do a party planning business and we had a few lingerie parties and I would go and get the stuff for the girls and stuff like that. Yeah.
And how old were you when you were doing this party planning?
I was out of college. I was like 19, 20 years old.
You were out of college?
I mean, I'm saying I was out of high school. I'm saying I was an adult.
Okay, so you were in college when you were doing your party planning business.
I was trying to start a party planning business. Yeah.
Okay, what year were you trying to start a party planning business is what I'm trying to get at.
Like 2005-ish. I would come back in town. I would fly back all the time. I would come to see him in different cities.
Okay, now you claim that he flew you in the middle of his trial and you met him and Jane on the tour bus that was parked outside 26th Street.
Yes, I don't claim. That's a fact.
Okay. And so he clearly, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were out of the state when he flew you back in.
Yes.
Okay. So a witness who could give bad testimony against him is outside the state. And he brings you not only into the state, but within 100 feet of the courthouse. Is that what you were saying?
That's what happened. Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. And you weren't under subpoena to testify, right?
Not at that time.
You were never under subpoena to testify for the trial, right?
Not for the trial, no.
Okay. You've previously stated that actually Drea was pretty protective of her home and her children, and you was always present, and she was always present when Kelly was there.
Not always. She was not always.
Well, certainly in the house when the children were there, right?
Yeah, his kids would be at the house.
And were there hundreds and hundreds of sexual experiences going on when the kids and Drea was there?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. And did you make any efforts again to disclose any of the information you shared here today with any law enforcement prior to June of 2019?
No.
Okay, 1 second. 1 second, Judge. You've testified that you started having sexual intercourse with Mr. Kelly at 15. Is that right?
15, 16, yeah.
Okay. But isn't it true that you did not have a relationship with Jane's cousin until He was 16.
No, that is not true.
Judge, we need a sidebar on this 412 issue, I think.
Okay, skipping through the redactions.
Ooh.
Redaction.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Proceed.
Okay. And just to be clear, Pauline, you testified, if I'm not mistaken, that you gave this false statement before the grand jury about ever having seen Mr. Kelly and Jane engaged in sexual relationships because you didn't want your mother to know about it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's not something you want to say in front of your parent.
Your mother wasn't in the grand jury when you testified, right?
She would know what I was talking about, though,
Okay.
because they're going to ask her. Because I was a minor, they're going to disclose that information to her.
Right. You weren't a minor when you testified before the grand jury, ma'am. You were 17 years old. That is a legal adult under Illinois law.
Well, in my household, it's a minor. So how you do your kids, that's you.
It's not, ma'am. I'm not quarreling with you about that. But she wasn't in the grand jury when you testified, was she?
No, not in the actual room, no.
Okay. Give me a second, Your Honor. One last question. Was your attempt to extort Mr. Kelly for the 50,000 before or after your attempt to extort him for the 35,000?
Is this your closing? That was nice. I like it.
No, it's just a question.
I don't know. I don't recall.
Okay, so many extortion attempts, right? Hard to remember.
I know.
Nothing further.
Good.
Brief redirect, Your Honor.
Wait.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Brindley, any questions?
I apologize.
No questions, Judge. Not for this witness.
Miss Judge?
No questions for this witness on behalf of Mr. Brown.
All right. You may redirect.
Thank you, Judge. I apologize. Could I have the document camera for the witness only? Okay, on cross-examination, you were asked a number of questions about different ages you were for different sex acts that occurred with Mr. Robert Kelly, correct?
Yes.
And you were asked about different interviews that you gave in 2019, correct?
Yes.
One of those interviews being on June the 12th, 2019, and I'd like to show you the same report dated June 12th, 2019. Looking at the bottom, the highlighted portion, and this was the first interview that you gave to law enforcement, correct?
Yes.
And did you tell law enforcement at that time that you recall going to the George Street house when you were approximately 14 or 15 years old? And that was the time that you walked in and saw Mr. Kelly with Jane, correct?
Correct.
And when you were 14 or 15 years old, Mr. Kelly proceeded to touch your breast and touch Jane's breast, correct?
This is not rehabilitating. We established this. I had her identify this.
Your Honor, I have a couple to go through, and this is completely appropriate under the prior consistent statements.
Wait. Hold on.
Judge, this prior consistent statement.
Just a second. Well, she testified what you asked her on direct. So why go over it a second time?
And also, I acknowledged with her that she gave this account on June 12th. I had her look at it. There is no need to put in a prior consistent statement where she wasn't impeached on that point.
Your Honor, counsel was asking questions about when, how old she was, or when she disclosed that she had sexual contact with Mr. Kelly. And there are multiple reports from June 9, 2019 where she did, in fact, disclose that she was between the ages of 15 and 16.
Judge, this is improper bolstering. I was very precise in my questions.
You wasn't.
Okay, I asked that the witness please stop. The questions that were asked of this witness were precise, and now they just want to go through and put in a bunch of prior consistent statement, which is not appropriate. No one suggested she didn't say this on June the 12th.
That's what I said. That was exactly what she testified on direct. So why? I don't see where.
Your Honor, I don't know if we should have this conversation at
The basis for that.
sidebar, but she told the witness that there was nowhere in her that she disclosed that. So I'm trying to.
That's actually not the case.
Wait, you both can't speak at the same time. Hold on a moment. All right, ask another question and then I'll.
Okay, Your Honor. I would like to show the witness the report from a few weeks later on June 28th, 2019.
Judge, I never said anything about the June 28th report. So that's not proper rehabilitation.
Well, because she didn't say things.
Yeah.
Okay, the objection is overruled. Go ahead.
Okay. June 28th, 2019, you were interviewed again by law enforcement. I'm putting the report in front of you for you to look at. At the bottom, did you tell law enforcement in June of 2019 that you were under the age of 18 years old? Robert Kelly had sexual interactions with you and Jane at least 100 times?
Yes, I did.
And you stated that the contacts happened at different locations that you testified about today. And you also recalled an incident on the tour bus when you were 15 or 16 years old. Is that what you told law enforcement in June 2019?
Yes, that's what I said. She didn't show me this picture, though.
All right, fine.
Okay, Judge, I impeached her specifically with her first two interviews. Now, where I understand there were multiple interviews, I understand at some point she started telling a story.
Judge, can we go to a sidebar if we're going to have this long conversation?
Wait. Miss Bonjean is on the floor.
My point is, Judge, we can go to the sidebar. Our position is the first two interviews she didn't say this. By the third interview, she did. So they're rehabilitating her with statements that were after. That's not proper prior consistent statements. They have to show statements before for a proper usage of prior consistent statements. Statements after is just bolstering.
Well, I don't understand that she denied any of those. So anyway, overruled. Let's get this over with.
Okay, I'd just like to ask you a couple more questions, and it's about the incident on the tour bus with Jane when you were 15 or 16 years old. And that's when the bus was parked near Hoops. Do you remember those questions?
I've never asked any questions about the bus park near Hoops. This is just them trying to unfairly bolster. Never said anything about the Hoops. I said about the 26th Street parking, not about Hoops.
Overruled. You may answer the question.
Do you recall being on a tour bus with Jane when you were 15 or 16 years old and it was parked by Hoops?
Pauline?
Yes. Can you please describe, and you need to be specific, what sex acts occurred on the tour bus when you were 15 and 16 years old?
We had intercourse and we also had performed oral sex on Rob. And I have performed oral sex on Jane. And Jane performed oral sex on me as well.
Did you have any sexual contact with Brittany on the tour bus when you were under the age of 17?
Yes. Judge, I'm going to object. This is just, no one impeached her on this. This is just improper bolstering.
Your Honor, this is redirect at this point.
Well, she did testify to all of this on the direct examination. So I mean, to have her repeat her direct examination, I don't think it's appropriate. So that one I do sustain.
Regarding the tour bus, you stated that you were on the bus when it was outside of Illinois, correct?
Where did she go?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you recall how old you were when you were on that bus outside of Illinois?
Again, outside the scope.
That I think is outside the scope. She never touched on, as I recall, on anything occurring outside of Illinois. So sustained.
One final question, and it just relates to the type of alcohol you were drinking when you were 14, 15, 16 years old. Were you provided alcohol by Robert Kelly during that time frame?
Yes. Different choices. My personal preference is hypnotic. As I got older, I had a preference.
I have nothing further.
Anything further? If not, you can step down. Call your next witness.
The government calls Greta Allen.
Please raise your right hand.
Sylvia?
Sylvia, I don't want to sleep.
Sylvia.
We lost.
I think she's asleep.
Oh Lord.
It's 9:30.
Okay, guys, we're gonna end. Sorry.
Okay.
We thought we heard you snoring.
Okay.
We're
All
on
right.
2372.
Oh, we finished the whole one, right?
Yeah, we finished
Pauline.
Pauline, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to bed now.
Okay.
Okay.
I gotta get up in the morning. So we'll finish the rest tomorrow.
All right.
Okay.
Y'all have a blessed night.
Yep.
All right. Good night,
Sweet
everybody.
dreams.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.